What if the thing you do every single morning, before you even say a word to anyone else, is slowly teaching your dog that you cannot be trusted? Not in a dramatic way, not in a way that shows up immediately, but in the quiet, invisible way that one day turns into your dog flinching when you reach for them, or stops coming when you call, or sits just far enough away that you can't quite reach. That is what we are talking about today. And if you share your life with a dog, you need to hear this before it goes any further. Welcome to Canine Mind. If you are new here, subscribe right now, because what we cover in this channel has already changed how thousands of owners see their dogs, and today's video might be the most important one yet. Most of what quietly destroys the bond between a dog and their owner does not look like abuse. It does not look like neglect. It looks like a normal Tuesday. It looks like love. It looks like playtime and cuddles and a life your dog should be grateful for. And that is exactly what makes these mistakes so dangerous, because you are never going to fix something you do not know is broken. There are 6 habits we are going to break down today. Some of them you are probably doing right now. At least one of them you are doing multiple times a day without realizing it. And by the time we get to number 6, you are going to understand why your dog has been trying to warn you about it this whole time. 1. Forcing physical affection when your dog is not asking for it. Picture this. You come home after a long day. Your dog is lying on the couch, half asleep, completely relaxed. And because you love them and you have missed them, you walk straight over, sit down next to them, and wrap your arms around them. They stiffen slightly.
Maybe they lick their lips once. Maybe they look away, but they let you do it. So you think they're fine. They were not fine. Here is what most people do not know about dogs and physical contact. Dogs did not evolve as animals that hug each other. Among dogs, the act of placing a limb or body weight over another dog is almost always a social signal of dominance or pressure. When you wrap your arms around your dog, their brain is not reading the word love. It is reading the word pressure. It is reading constraint. A landmark study analyzing over 250 photographs of people hugging their dogs found that in the majority of images, the dogs were displaying at least one clear stress signal. Ears back, whale eye, which is when you can see the whites of their eyes, lowered head, lip licking, yawning. The dogs were communicating discomfort clearly. The owners were completely unaware. That is not a small thing, because every time your dog communicates discomfort and receives more of the same thing in return, they learn that their signals do not matter, that you are not listening. And a dog that stops believing their signals matter is a dog that eventually stops warning before they react. This does not mean do not touch your dog. It means learn what your dog's version of asking for touch looks like. A dog that nudges your hand, leans into you, rolls onto their side, or comes and presses themselves against your leg is inviting contact. That is the moment to give it. That kind of affection lands differently. It builds something. 2. Using punishment during training, even mild punishment. How many times have you said no in a sharp tone, pushed your dog's nose toward the mess on the floor, or used a spray bottle when they did something wrong?
It felt like communication. It felt like you were teaching them something. You were, just not what you think. Dogs learn through association above almost everything else. When something unpleasant happens in connection with a behavior, they do not always connect the discomfort to the behavior. They connect it to whatever was present in that moment. And often, what is most present in that moment is you. Research coming out of the University of Porto, published in 2019 in PLOS One, studied the long-term effects of aversive training on dogs. Dogs trained with punishment-based methods showed significantly elevated cortisol levels, more stress-related behaviors during training sessions, and critically, showed more pessimistic cognitive bias over time. In plain language, those dogs were more anxious, less optimistic, and less trusting of the humans they lived with. And here is the part that keeps most owners up at night when they finally understand it. It is not the big moments of punishment that do the most damage. It is the small ones. The repeated sharpness in your voice when they pull on the leash, the constant verbal corrections, the low-level frustration they absorb from you every single day during training. If your dog seems shut down in training sessions, if they look like they are walking on eggshells around you, if they perform commands correctly but without any joy in their body, that is a dog that has learned that making a mistake near you is something to fear. That is not the relationship you wanted, and it is still fixable, but you have to stop the habit first. 3. Skipping or shortcutting daily exercise and thinking a quick walk counts. We need to be honest with each other here.
A 10-minute walk around the block is not exercise for most dogs. It is barely a warm-up. And when a dog's actual physical and mental needs are not being met, what happens next is something that owners tend to call behavioral problems. But it is not a behavior problem. It is a dog trying to survive the day on an amount of stimulation that is nowhere near enough. Dogs are built to move. Depending on the breed, a dog's daily activity needs might range from 45 minutes to several hours of genuine physical effort. Not strolling, not sniffing while you check your phone, actual movement that raises their heart rate, engages their muscles, and gives their brains something real to process. When that does not happen consistently, the nervous system stays wound up. Stress hormones that were supposed to discharge through movement just stay in the body, and they come out as chewing, barking, restlessness, jumping, leash reactivity, and all the other behaviors that make people feel like they have a badly behaved dog, when what they actually have is a perfectly healthy dog in a body that is begging for release. But here is the part most people miss. It is not just the physical exercise. It is what exercise does to the relationship. A dog that gets worn out with you, that runs alongside you, plays with you, explores with you, bonds with you through shared physical experience, is a dog that looks to you as the center of their world. You become the thing that makes good things happen. That is the foundation every training and behavioral goal you have is built on. If you have been wondering why your dog seems distracted or disconnected, stay with us, because number 6 is going to pull everything together in a way that might genuinely surprise you. 4. Inconsistent rules and boundaries at home. Be honest with yourself right now. Does your dog have rules that change depending on your mood? Allowed on the couch on weekdays, but not weekends. Allowed to jump on you when you are in casual clothes, but corrected for it when you are dressed for work. Allowed to beg at the table sometimes, but scolded for it other times. To you, this probably feels flexible, normal even. But to your dog, it is something else entirely. Dogs do not have the ability to understand context the way humans do. They cannot reason that today is different because you are wearing your good shirt. What they experience is a world where the same behavior produces completely unpredictable results. And unpredictability, in the brain of a social animal that has evolved to read patterns in their environment as a matter of survival, is genuinely stressful. A dog living in an inconsistent environment is a dog in a constant low-level state of anxiety, trying to figure out rules that appear to have none. That anxiety does not stay confined to the couch question. It bleeds into everything, into how the dog responds to strangers, into how they handle new situations, into whether they feel confident or hesitant, into the quality of their sleep, into how connected they feel to you. The fix is not perfection. It is alignment. Every person in the household needs to follow the same rules with the dog, consistently and predictably. And when you do that, something remarkable happens. Your dog relaxes. Not because they got everything they wanted, but because the world finally makes sense. And a dog that feels that kind of clarity looks to the person who gave it to them as someone safe to follow anywhere. 5. Misreading excitement as happiness. This one is subtle.
And it might be the one that reshapes how you see your dog most completely. We have been culturally trained to read a dog's excitement as the peak expression of their happiness. The jumping, the spinning, the uncontrollable energy when you walk through the door. And it feels amazing, of course it does. That wild, whole-body display of energy directed entirely at you is one of the most addictive feelings of being a dog owner. But excitement and happiness are not the same thing in the canine brain, and in many cases, extreme excitement is actually a signal of dysregulation, not joy. Here is what is happening physiologically. When a dog reaches that frenzied pitch of excitement, their sympathetic nervous system, the one responsible for fight or flight responses, is highly activated. Their cortisol and adrenaline are elevated. Their thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex equivalent in dogs, is essentially offline. They are not thinking, they are reacting. And a dog that regularly gets worked into that state has a stress system that stays activated more of the time, not less. Research in applied animal behavior science has consistently shown that dogs with chronically elevated arousal have more difficulty with impulse control, more difficulty learning,
and more difficulty regulating their emotional responses in challenging situations. The dog that you describe as excitable or hyper is often a dog whose nervous system has never been taught how to come back down. The most loving thing you can do when you walk through the door is not to match their energy. It is to be calm, to move quietly, to let them settle before you engage. Because a dog that learns that calm is what brings your attention is a dog whose baseline slowly shifts toward peace. And that calm dog, the one lying contentedly at your feet, the one that walks loosely beside you, the one that meets strangers with interest rather than overwhelm, that dog is the happy one, not the frenzied one. 6. Missing the language your dog is speaking to you every single day. Remember at the start of this video, we told you there was one habit that almost every dog owner does multiple times a day without realizing it, something that is slowly eroding your dog's trust in you right now, today? This is it. Your dog is talking to you constantly, not in words, but in a rich, precise, and remarkably consistent language made up of body signals that scientists call calming signals and stress indicators. And if you are not fluent in that language, you are missing most of what your dog is trying to say. When your dog yawns while you are scolding them, they are not bored, they are trying to de-escalate the tension. When they suddenly stop and sniff the ground during a charged moment, that is a stress displacement behavior. When they lick their lips, look away, shake off like they just got wet, or show you a curving, low-to-the-ground body posture, those are not random quirks. Those are words. Norwegian dog trainer and ethologist Turid Rugas spent decades documenting these signals and identified over 30 distinct calming signals that dogs use to communicate stress, discomfort, and the desire to reduce conflict. 30 signals. Most owners know about 2. And the cost of that gap in knowledge is enormous, because when your dog communicates that they are overwhelmed or anxious or reaching their limit, and that communication is consistently missed or ignored, the relationship shifts in a fundamental way. The dog learns that trying to communicate with you does not work.
And so, over time, they stop trying. The warning signals disappear, not because the dog is fine, but because they have learned that warnings do not matter. That dog is not a confident dog. That is a dog living in quiet defeat. And the tragedy is that their owner almost never knows it happened, because on the surface, the dog looks fine. They are not biting. They are not running away. They are just there, doing what they are told, disconnected from the person who loves them most. A 2020 study published in Scientific Reports showed that dogs whose owners responded consistently and appropriately to their behavioral signals had significantly lower cortisol levels and formed measurably stronger social bonds compared to dogs whose signals were routinely missed. One variable, one habit, completely changed the biological reality of those dogs' stress levels and their capacity to trust. Learning your dog's language is not complicated, but it does require you to slow down, to watch, to notice the ears before the tail, the weight shift before the look away, the lip lick before the yawn. Your dog has been trying to have a conversation with you since the day they came home, and the moment you start listening back, everything changes. The bond you have with your dog is one of the most ancient partnerships in the history of living things. Tens of thousands of years of coevolution have wired your dog to want to connect with you, to work with you, to trust you. That is not something you have to earn from scratch. It is already there. But it is not indestructible, and it does not maintain itself.
The 6 things we covered today, forcing affection, using punishment, under-exercising, inconsistent rules, misreading excitement, and missing their signals, none of them are dramatic. None of them feel like harm when you are doing them, but they compound, and over time, they shift the relationship from one your dog chose freely to one they are simply enduring. You can change that, starting today, starting with the next time your dog looks at you and you actually look back. If this video opened your eyes to something, share it with someone who has a dog. Leave a comment telling us which of the 6 habits hit closest to home, and subscribe to K9 Mind, because we are just getting started.